Welcome to Arkansas basketball recap. This is the Purdue exhibition game slash season preview show. So as you saw, Jake got to go to that game. I got to watch that game. I was so happy that it was televised. Well, streamable. It wasn't really televised, but I was in California, and so I was able to watch it, and not only watch it, but I was able to watch it later because I wasn't going to get to watch it live because I was working, and so yeah, man. And I mean, one thing that Eric Musselman is doing. I mean, we did this against Texas last year with a very different outcome.
Which they didn't televise that one,
No,
right?
no, and that was annoying. But bringing in Purdue, I felt nervous about that because we had played, the red white game. We played one exhibition game, which we won handily. But you're bringing in a Purdue team, returning all of their starters, the National Player of the Year. They actually had played like we did last year and played 4 games overseas prior to this, and so you just feel like, man, not only do they know who their team is already, but they've played like some real competitive basketball already, and so there was you're like I don't know, like we're how long, and we've done this for years now. You expect this team to be good, but maybe not yet, or at least are we where on the schedule are we? And it looks to me that and you were there, so you maybe can say different, but it looks like this team is like ahead of maybe where some of the other teams were at this point and this early.
Yeah, I mean, I felt a bunch of things about it. One, like I don't know, because we didn't get to watch the last year's Texas game, so I don't know. I really didn't know what to expect. Like I wasn't sure what the pageantry or how much like a scrimmage, a friendly
Yeah.
this is going to be versus how much it's going to be like a regular game. And we even talked about this. I mean, you were going to California because we were like, well, maybe we could go to that game. That'd be a good way to preview, start off. We need to talk about all the new players. This would be a good way to do it. And then you had to go to California. But you were even like, yeah, I mean, it's basically a charity game, so it probably won't sell out.
Yeah.
And I went to look for tickets thinking I could probably just get tickets if I wanted them. And it was sold out. And some people were asking, I mean, I'm not saying they got these prices, but they weren't. The worst seats behind the basketball goal in the top were $35, but any seat that was not on the very top level was over $50. And then if you started to creep around anywhere to the side, they were jumping to 70, 150, and there were some that were like on the lower level on the side that people were asking $700 for.
Crazy.
Now I have no idea if they were getting that or not, but there was a lot more buzz, I guess, around. I mean, obviously it's because it's the number 3 team in the country too, and just I think Arkansas basketball is just everybody's super pumped.
The state of Arkansas football, people are ready to move on.
Yeah, that helped. I mean, and then it was a crappy weekend here. I don't know if that affected it or not, where people were like, well, I won't be able to do anything else. Like it was definitely not a weekend that you could go.
I mean, watching it, on my computer, that looked like a regular basketball game.
Yeah, no, well, that's the thing is I was surprised. It felt so much. Sorry, I've got to look at my phone because I don't know anybody's names yet. And it's going to take, you guys know, it's going to take 10 games for me to just instinctively know who these guys are. But yeah, I took my daughter, and there was not only was it like a regular game, it was like a regular game that had a lot of that meant something. It was like a game going up against like 2 undefeated SEC teams, or bringing the number 1 team in the country in, or a tournament game. It felt like the energy was palpable. The pageantry was all there. They had the full band, all the cheerleaders. I mean, if you see the video, like they had fired the fireball thing when the announcements, and the smoke machine, and running out of the tunnel. And I mean, the crowd was into it. I did feel a little bit bad for Purdue and the few Purdue fans that were there, because just a completely hostile environment to start out, especially to have
you do wonder, because I know like initially they were hoping that they could get 10,000 people in there or something like that. And I do wonder, when Purdue agreed to do this, if they knew they couldn't have known because I don't think we knew that it was going to be like that. But I mean, it doesn't count. And so if you're Purdue, you're like, that's a great experience for them.
Yeah, I actually didn't get a chance to like look at what their coach said about it or anything.
He said pretty much that. It was like, this is a great.
They all seemed friendly right after the game. It seemed like even the players were pretty, everybody had mutual respect for one another. Like I said, I mean, it's an aside, but I personally don't love the chants and stuff. Like, I just feel like it always like, I would like to just, if you're going to lose or win, I'd rather just be the good, courteous, but the kids, they found the guy that they wanted to boo every time. And then every time the big man did anything at all that was not, amazing, they chanted overrated. And then they did the nah goodbye when he fouled out.
I don't know if he's overrated.
And then they chanted SEC. Well, the thing is,
I mean, you're throwing like 3 defenders at him every time he gets the ball. It's like, I don't know how overrated can you be if it takes like an entire team to guard you.
Yeah, I'm not sure how he's going to translate to the pro level. I have a feeling he's going to be maybe struggle. I don't know if he's going to be that good on the next level. It's hard to say, but at any rate, I do think, it's hard to say he's overrated when he's like, getting triple teamed. And also the fact that look at the rebounding differential. And also as a casual basketball fan, if you just were looking at it, you're like, well, he didn't maybe do that well, but his effect on the paint.
Yeah.
There were so many times when he's in the game, you just can't score at the rim. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter. Even if you can go right around him, it doesn't matter. He's still there. And he's not just stopping the guy with the ball. He's so big that he makes it where you can't even pass. Like, and you can't even hoop it.
He moves decently too. Like, he's not slow. I mean, he moves his feet pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, he, like I said, he's definitely a problem. And especially once Mekhi Mitchell went out, because he was doing a really good. He was the only body we had that guy couldn't just move all the way down there.
I felt like by the way, I said to say, so Arkansas wins this scrimmage or exhibition game or whatever. So they win this thing 81-77
in overtime.
I think that I was really impressed with Chandler Lawson. So Chandler Lawson got to start, giving up like not a mile, but Chandler Lawson has a 7'7" wingspan. I don't know if you guys don't know, that's what he has. Like, so he's not 7 foot tall, but he's got a 7'7" wingspan, which is insane. He's got the longest arms ever, and he's not big enough, so he was able to get moved, but there was some chip shot stuff that he boinked that I have to believe he had to put it higher than he wanted to, because Chandler Lawson's reach is ridiculous. And so
and Brazil got down there and affected some shots on he's also, I mean, he won both of the jump balls against him, because he's just, that guy, one thing is pretty grounded. I mean, luckily for him, he doesn't need to jump.
Brazil's tall and just bouncy as all that.
Well, that guy, I don't know what he can probably reach 10 foot without, flat footed, but Trevon Brazil can probably touch the top of the backboard if he wants to, so.
Yeah. But I was really impressed with Lawson. I mean, one of the things that you might look at and you'd be like, I don't know, like Lawson played a lot of minutes. I mean, if you look at the minute breakdown, you had, let's see. So Chandler Lawson played 32 minutes. So he played a lot. Mitchell played, 20 minutes. So, Lawson played more minutes than he did. Part of that is foul trouble, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Also, Jalen Graham did not play in this game.
The Mitchell thing, I think part of that also was that their guy was in foul trouble, and they sat Mitchell when they sat him because they wanted to save Mitchell to try to
and he knew he was going to collect fouls.
Yeah.
But one of the things, so if you looked at the rebounding, and we got out rebounded as a team
quite a bit,
but
wasn't it like 42-28 or something like that?
Yeah, we got out rebounded. But they're it's not just Zach Edey, like he's huge, but they're big in general,
except for their point guard.
Yeah, I mean, but their forwards are big.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I mean, like, not just tall, but like big guys. And but Zach Edey, I mean, he had 9 rebounds. But and then you look at Mekhi Mitchell. Mekhi Mitchell ends up with, 5 rebounds, and Chandler Lawson has 2 rebounds. But here's the thing about rebounding. If say your assignment is this guy is going to get every rebound, unless you are trying to make him not get every rebound, that doesn't mean you get rebounds. That's not how that works. Like, so if you have a guy and you're like, hey, you have to keep him off the glass, you probably aren't going to be the leading rebounder, because you're just blocking out like hard as hell, like all the time. You're just blocking out. It means other people are going to get rebounds. You're just trying to stop that guy from getting every rebound. Like, so we play guys, we play pickup ball, and there's a guy that we play with that's like that. And if we're on the same team and we decide who's going to guard that guy, probably the other one of us is going to get more rebounds, because you just have to know where that guy is. You can't position yourself to get rebounds. Your first objective is, where are you at? You could be like I don't want you flying in and getting rebounds. I don't want you doing any of this. And so I thought they did a pretty good job of that, of just like, he had bodies on him all the time. And Mekhi and Chandler both did a really good job of that.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think part of kind of what you're related to what you're saying is some of the differential in rebounding is that even offensively, when that guy has the ball offensively, so many guys are out of position trying to harass him.
Yep.
They're trying to harass the dump down pass and trying to come around the backside and get it out of his hands. And just, there's so many people out of position that when he puts it up, if he misses, they had a lot of like grabs and attempts at putback, and it was just like a scramble drill down there. And they had a lot of rebounds that were, those, you get 3 rebounds on one possession because it's just bouncing around. But yeah, that guy does cause it. He's a problem you can't box your man out when your man's in the corner and you're running around the baseline to try to harass that guy.
Yeah.
Overall, I would say though, I mean,
we look pretty good, man. We look pretty good. I mean, like, it was the start was a little bit slow, but here, like last year. Okay, first let's talk about the defense. I thought the defense looked pretty good. Like, the on-ball defense was really good. I mean, we're picking guys up way out. I mean, there was Trevor Brazil had times where he was like way extended, and then guys would try to pass the ball, and he just picked that thing right out of the air. Like, what a nightmare if you have that guy on you on the perimeter. But other guys did that too. I mean, Mark did that. They were very annoying, it looked like, on defense on the perimeter. They switched really well. And then on the offense, like, we got more options of dudes that look like they can just score the ball.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. It's one game, so obviously everything said here is subject to change, because without watching these guys for 10 games, you don't know you can't analyze how atypical some of the performances were, how sometimes some of those guys made some tough shots and you don't know how uncharacteristic that's going to be, or if that, later as the season goes along, you're going to be like, okay, that he really shouldn't be shooting that shot. That's not his shot. And without a lot more information, it's hard to actually make an accurate prediction or prescription for how good the season's going to be or how good the team is. All that being said, there's a bunch of different versions of this game, the outcome of it, and it may not be the best one. Maybe if you everybody shot a crazy percentage.
If Devo's not in foul trouble, Devo doesn't bang heads with Edey, or if Jalen Graham isn't having back spasms and you can play him some. I mean,
there's a version where maybe you win that game by 20 or something, and you're like, oh my God, are we the best team in the country? But I'll say I expected to lose that game for sure. Like you said, for all the reasons you said, for the fact that these group of guys have not played that much together. And it's the number 3 team in the country. They were the number 1 team in the country for half the season last year.
Yeah.
They have an amazing point. They have everything you want in a really great team. They have an amazing point guard who is good at all the ways you want a point guard to be good. I mean, maybe he could be taller for defensive purposes, but like, he's an amazing shooter, a ridiculous ball handler, a really good court vision, like floor general. And Purdue, dude, they moved the ball so well. I mean, we struggled in the very beginning because they bounced the ball around so nice. And I mean, that looked like to me like a really good team. And the fact that we were able to go out there and beat them in a way that was like, it's so many guys. Every time a guy I was like, who is this guy? You know what I mean? Like, you think I'm looking for like, okay, who are the two guys that are going to be the scoring threats, or maybe three? There was like 6 of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they were making tough shots. They were making timely shots. Like I said, blocker, battle,
I did. We'll do this. Let's talk about a couple of the individuals. Like the other thing that's interesting is that
Ellis,
with Graham not playing,
Davenport had moments.
Muss played 10 guys, that's a lot for him.
Well, and especially because he had guys he didn't play.
Yeah, he had 10 guys that he played. That's without Graham.
Mm-hmm.
So Graham's in the rotation, I would think. He still played 10 guys. A couple guys didn't get in. Bay Fall didn't get in. There's a couple other guys, but I think Bay Fall is maybe the only guy active on the roster because Menfield's redshirted. So maybe
is our video slightly out of focus?
I don't know. Maybe.
Sorry if it is, guys.
But Bay Fall, I think he's the only one that didn't get in there, and then Graham, obviously. But anyway, if you're looking at it, one, I'll give my player of the game, and then I want to go through some of the guys. I think player of the game, and it's tough because that was a group effort.
It was,
and like nobody dropped 25, and like that didn't happen. To me, though, like player of the game was Tremont Mark. He had 15 points. He had 6 rebounds, he led the team in rebounding. But what he did, but it's for this dude down the stretch. So he hits just like a really tough 3 to put you into overtime. Like that's with a 7'4" guy, hand in your face, and just drills this thing, sidestep, drills this shot, puts you into overtime. In overtime, he hits, and Muss did put the ball in his hands. I mean, Ellis was playing point guard, but in overtime, the last 2 minutes of overtime, Mark had the ball, and he had that one. That the shot clock wind down. He's in the corner. Like we've seen Mason Jones do this. We've seen Note do this. Muss is doing the same thing. He's winding it down, and Mark just gets to his spot, and Mark is a mid-range shooter, but gets in there, pulls up at the free throw line, drills it. That was essentially the game-winning shot. Like, I mean, there was free throws after that, but that was the game-winning shot. Ellis was really good in overtime too. He had 2 big buckets. But then he also got a huge steal when we were up 3, got a huge steal, then forced another steal. I think Ellis ended up getting the steal, but it's because Mark tipped it. And then Mark hits 2 free throws down at the end to put it out of reach. All of the, and then leading the team rebounding. Like, to me, Mark was like, he was pretty great. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but
I mean, I think so. Like I said, it was, I went back and watched it after I got home because you can't quite see. I mean, half the time when you're, in the excitement of the crowd, so I couldn't even tell. I wasn't even sure who shot it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, like I said, going back and watching it, I felt the same way. It was just like, man, if this is indicative of how these guys are able to play consistently, and like I said, I mean, if you watched I'm a little bit trepidatious to be too overexcited because last year, just one thing, like last year, Trevin Brazil, I watched the first 3 games when we were in the European tour or whatever, and I didn't notice how bad we were at shooting last year. And it was
we're better at shooting this year, without a doubt.
Well, it was because Trevin Brazil was hitting 3 threes a game at least, sometimes more, sometimes less, but like that was enough to, and then, to not notice that Anthony Black had only hit 1 3 out of 4, and like the rest of the guys weren't shooting that well because it didn't feel that bad. And then when Brazil went down, it was like, now every clank is like, okay, who's going to hit one of these shots? Now, like I said, this didn't feel that way at all. I hope this is indicative of how these guys can
Well,
play,
if you,
because
well,
everybody
if you
was
look at
hitting
these
shots.
guys, if you look at, I mean, one of the things that Musk obviously did was he wanted his type of guy, which is like rangy guy. I mean, Tremont Mark is like built in a laboratory for Musk because he's a elite defender. He's long, but even guys like Ellis and Battle, certainly Davenport, those guys are Musk type guys. But what Musk realized is he's needed Musk type guys that could also shoot. And so you look at those guys' 3-point percentages, and they're all way better than any of the what we lost.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, Ellis can shoot threes, and Battle can shoot threes like crazy. Davenport can shoot threes like crazy. Obviously, Mark is not like a sniper 3-point shooter. He's more a mid-range guy, but he can shoot them.
Well, and there's also part of it with like Battle and Ellis, a few of those shots, and maybe Blocker too. I can't remember, but it was also the way they were shooting them. Our guys last year, we didn't have that Note, or like you said, like that guy that could just harass a defense in that when you're up top, any second he can pull up, and he can pull up off the dribble. He can pull off stepping to the side. And I mean, like I said, I don't know if those guys, that's actually their forte, but we had a bunch of like shots that weren't what we last year. We were having basically, it was a miracle if we could make one. And that was if it was like we moved the ball super well inside out and a guy caught it, feet set, looking at the basket. And we had trouble making them. These guys making defended shots, making their own shots, like step back threes, Battle. I think it was Battle. I hit one particular one where he was just crossed the guy over.
Battle hit back-to-back threes that were huge in the second half.
And just all that stuff felt like, oh man, if we could have some of this and then play the defense and have Devo Davis and guys like that be gritty. I mean, there's definitely reason to be stoked.
Yeah, I think so. Talking about some other guys, I thought Ellis played really well. I mean, he's obviously, I think, if you're looking at the roster, I mean, I'm sure some of this will change, but I kind of told you beforehand that I was like, here's my prediction for the starting roster for that, which is Ellis at the point guard, Devo, Tremont Mark, Trevor Brazile, and I thought Mackay would start. He's started Chandler Lawson the 2 exhibition games. And that's fine, and maybe that's what he's going to do. But I thought all those guys. I think Battle's Battle seems like the kind of guy that Musk likes to bring off the bench, because Battle is he's not the defender that Mark is, or obviously Devo, and but he gives you scoring punch like right off the bench, and so you even noticed, and this is a huge thing. Blocker, who's the only true freshman that played. I thought Blocker looked great as like a true freshman. And you notice that when they needed a stop in overtime and Devo was hurt, that he went offense defense and took Battle out and put Blocker in. And Blocker is known out of high school as like an elite defender. But I thought Blocker, and he didn't get a ton of minutes, but I thought he looked really good. I mean, it was for a true freshman.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, there's actually, like, I mean, having Graham on the bench, and then having like even Pinion, who, we know in the red and white game, like went crazy and scored a bunch of points. He didn't play very much. And when he did, he got one look that he missed, but I mean, it wasn't like you played that game and you felt like that's as good as it can get. There's actually room for other guys to play and other guys to. I mean, you can imagine a game where
Brazil's going to get better too. Like, I mean, you have to remember that Brazil is just back. I mean, Brazil is not he's not been scrimmaging very much. Like, I mean, it's only the last 2 weeks that he's been even like playing basketball like that, and so he's going to get healthier, and he looked healthy, he looked great, but just he's going to get in better condition and all that kind of stuff. He's going to get more confident, and that's really, I mean, he went down actually once. It freaked me out. And that's probably good that he did that and then got up and he was okay. And that's the kind of stuff you need to happen for you psychologically to get back in it. Like, oh, I'm all right. Okay, good.
We do need, I mean, luckily there's enough guys there that if he went down, you got other guys that can take minutes, but he is the biggest, like the weirdest player that we have as far as he really makes defensive strategies from other teams difficult because you can't just put like whenever their big man would end up on him, he would just pull him out to the 3-point line, and the guy has to respect his 3-point shot, and he's too slow to guard him. I mean, we didn't really make a lot of hay out of that, but you could tell, like, you can't put a small guy on him, obviously,
Right.
but you can't put a giant lumbering slow guy on him either. And he does create and he's, whenever you have a big man that can spread the floor and pull a big, whoever's trying to guard him out of the paint, he's just a very difficult piece for other teams to match up against, and it would be nice if he could.
And you need him defensively too. He's because I mean there was one play early where somebody like their I think their forward like had this nice like spin move around him, like so he got him on his hip and then spun around and went to the basket, and Brazil just recovered and just said, get that out of here from behind. Like he's so long and he's so bouncy that it didn't even, it's like, great move, dude. Didn't matter because like I just got you from the backside. Just I mean he makes things difficult in general. So he's hard to guard, but defensively the team would take a hit if you don't have him too. Like he really helps a lot because he can guard kind of everywhere. Like I said, I mean, like on the perimeter, he just engulfs you and gets his hand like you don't want that. If you pick up your dribble and he's guarding you, you're in a bad way.
And even though he's not the strongest post defender, he's so bouncy that even if you push him all the way under the goal, you better turn around and be able to dunk it, because if you lay it up in any form, he's going to still be able to, no matter how deep he is, going to be able to get it.
Yeah. Well, what else? Season preview. I mean, I tell you what, the schedule is a real banger. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better schedule, man.
I love that sport that we're like, you don't have to wait a month and a half to see, to play a good team.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got the Battle for Atlantis. That's going to be awesome. So you get to play, high caliber teams and that. And then you got Duke coming to Bud Walton. That's amazing. You've got
Dude, we should look and see how much StubHub tickets for that game are. They got to be crazy.
Probably so. And then you got like a game against Oklahoma. So there's before you get into conference play, you're going to know some things before then.
Dude, wait, that's what we need. We need this podcast to pop off so that we can get special tickets and stuff. We need to get big. We need to get big enough
media
so
passes.
that we can get in there and to go to these games all the time without having to pay $500. Now that Arkansas is, lit. Even 4 or 5 years ago, we could go to a game anytime we wanted to.
Yeah.
Now you actually have to either sit in the crazy seats or you have to really pay real money. It stinks.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, but that's if you're good.
I'll take the trade-off. I'll take the trade-off.
Luckily, every game is on TV, unlike back in the 90s when we huddled around the radio and one game a year you get to watch.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, even the game, so they'll be playing a week from today, opening night. And fortunately we can watch that game because it's I think you have to have ESPN Plus to watch it because I think it is on SEC Plus or whatever it is. But if you have that, which I do, then you can watch it, which is great. So, all right. Well, I think we can leave it there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I don't want to be this way because this is how you get your heart broken. But I mean, my expectations are pretty high. I mean, like
well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
you're looking at it, you're like, is it Sweet 16 or bust? Like, kind of feels that way.
Well, that's the bed that Muss has made for himself, regardless of anything less than, like, if we weren't to make the tournament or something, it would be devastating. Yeah. But that's a crazy place to be in because, like, we hadn't made the tournament for 1 out of 20 years before this, and but yeah, I mean. He really has made it where it's like, if you don't make it to the second round, you're going to be probably
you're not looking at that team and you're being like, I wonder if we're going to make the tournament. Like you're like, no, we're going. Yeah, and like now injuries happen, or maybe who knows what kind of chemistry, whatever. So that's what I mean is like you're like there's certain things that nothing's a given, but you're sort of taking them as givens. Like, of course, that's going to happen. And
Well, I
then,
mean, just like anything, you look at it, you protect your heart because, like, you never know what can happen. Obviously, there's lots of examples of teams that look good that don't, that have disappointing seasons. But I mean, you can only use the information that you have, and it couldn't be much better than what we saw this weekend, and also just the fan base. Like, I mean, the energy is back. Like, it's crazy, and it's even like things like when they called out the players, everybody is aware of like the story. Devo, like, this is it. This is his. This is he's the flagship player. He's been here forever. He's wasn't a NBA prospect or anything. So he's like the gritty kid. And when they called his name out, he got a big pop, you know what I mean? More than any of the other guys. I mean, obviously, because half the guys nobody even knew who they were.
yeah.
But I mean, like the fan base is into it and the energy is there. And I mean, everything about just approaching the game and going in there, there's just an energy and a buzz that is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. All right. Well, we'll be back after a game that actually counts. But for games that don't count, that's about as good as they get. So, and now they've got my expectations through the roof. So, thanks guys for watching. We'll be back.
We're back, and hope everybody had a good summer because
it feels like basketball season now started. I'll tell you that.
It got cold and feels like the good days. The holidays are coming. Hogs are back. Let's do it.
All right.